welcome to that spiritual, actual, factual answers to questions you're asking. You find them inside you, recite you, reciting the records. Akashic, we laughing, we drafting the passion to vary. It's time for that comedy, dramedy, all of the fanciest, catchiest acronyms. Listeners, listen, we traveling. Consciousness is always unraveling. The reading you're having is mapping you back to your natural habitat. Abracadabra, it's magicless, passing it. To top it off, the host, all the classiest. Now, what were you asking for? All of the answers? What? All the answers.
I'm ready now.
Okay.
Here's why I want to talk about sex after marriage. As a non-married lady, as I was messaging you guys earlier, I was driving in my vehicle thinking about two things, and I messaged you guys and said, I want to talk about these two things on the podcast. One of which is sex after marriage and why people stop having it. And I have an armchair theory as a fully non-married person with no experience and no idea what I'm talking about.
It's usually a really good place to start speaking authoritatively from.
Yeah, absolutely. No, but the real thing about it is not having never been married, but being curious about the possibility of it and maybe wanting to try it sometime. I don't want to get into it and then never have sex again. So I'm concerned. I'm a concerned citizen. I'm trying to forego a problem. Now, you both have said clearly before we were on air, as it were, that neither of you are going to fucking talk to me about this because you don't want to bring in your partners who aren't here to talk about their dirty laundry, which I think is very respectful and wonderful of you, but annoying because I need your help to learn. We have to, together, we're going to crack the code, you guys.
I think we can respond respectfully to your theory with some version of our own experience.
Okay.
Let me start here. This is one of the first thoughts I had when I got your text.
Okay.
Before I was married, I never understood people would say, I want you to fuck me like you don't know me. And I always thought, that's weird because it's really hot to know somebody and know where their buttons are and know how to unlock their combination. But when you fuck someone you don't know, if they try something, not super weird, but they try something a little different, you're like, oh, well, let's give this a shot. But if you've been married for 10 years and someone grabs a hold of your hair for the first time, you're like, wait, the fuck did you learn that? And then you got to talk about it. And, when you don't know someone, you just kind of roll with it, to a certain extent. Whereas you're married, I think it's more like, you got to okay, we're going to do something different. Let's talk about it. I didn't test this out on a hooker.
Uh-huh.
Question from the audience. The non-married audience has a question. Okay. What if you just decided you're going to roll with it and you're not going to have to talk about it?
But you got to talk about it once at least. That has to be a honeymoon night conversation that like, hey, we're going to be together. Every once in a while, we're going to try something different. And we don't have to stop the whole scene to discuss what this improv is.
Okay, Cassidy, do you agree that that is a thing, that is a reason for you that it wouldn't have, like, do you have that same experience where you would have to stop and talk about it and that's part of why you're like, nah?
I don't know. I'll be honest. That this framing is a little outside of how I see it. What I'd like to do actually is hear your theory first, because your theory is based on the premise that people stop having sex after they're married, which is common. That is a common trope that is true sometimes, for sure. So for those situations, this is your theory.
Okay, we'll back up. Let me say a few things first. Thank you for sharing that, Desmond. That was intimate, and I appreciate your truth telling. My point I was making by asking Cassidy after you said that was to say that I'm guessing that's not the same for everybody. I'm guessing that's particular to you and particular to many people. But I already had the feeling.
Sorry, I was going to say, and this doesn't really address the. Sorry, apparently we're on a little bit of a delay. And I wasn't necessarily addressing the idea that we're not having sex. Like that's kind of different. I was just expressing my first thought of married sex. And, so I wasn't necessarily addressing your exact question.
Well, okay, I hear you. But I don't think it's entirely off topic because it's like, it's a reason if part of, okay, there's a lot to say here already. I'm going to pause you for a second. Forgive me. The reason I pointed to Cassidy was I was like, I think probably it's different for a lot of different people, the practical reasons, but I have a theory about what's under the practical reasons. Like, I bet you any married couple we would talk to, like if we talked to 10 married couples, there'd be like 10 different sort of like, well, because she works until 10 and I'm tired, or I'm afraid to talk about it, or I don't want to have to talk about it, whatever the reasons are. I think I have a theory that's sort of like under that, because I think I would feel exactly that. I know just what you mean, Desmond. Like, okay, let me say 800 ideas at once. So one thing is, I've read a bunch of stuff about this, and they talk about some sexuality and relationship experts, namely Esther Perel. If folks want to Google her, sex expert. I only know minimal things, but I'm going to quote what I've heard. So she talks about how a big part of, maintaining eros. So there are different kinds of love, right? Familial, filial, eros, agape. Agape is spiritual love. Eros is the sexual, romantic. Familial is familial, and filial is friendship, right? So to maintain the eros, she talks about how inherently what is required in that is variety, newness, and like she talks about how when you go out, like let's say your partner is like a basketball player during the day, but he also plays the jazz guitar at night. You forget about how good he is at the jazz guitar, and you go out one night and he plays the jazz guitar and you're like, damn, he could do that. And then you want to bone down a lot, and you go home and you have sex, because then you forget about the amazingness of certain facets of your partner, right? And so she talks about one of the keys is to like do stuff where you're seeing other sides of your partner rather than like, this is the person I domestically handle my house with, and the kids have to get to school, and we're like practical partners in the law agreement of our house, all that. You get into like this way where it's like, that's your dynamic now. And so you don't remember that they're like a badass dancer, or they're like a fucking badass at all. They're just this bitch you sleep with who snores or whatever. Okay. So number one, she talks about that to maintain it, variety, newness, and like, she specifically says, remembering that your partner can do stuff that you can't do, which she talks about, like, you have to put yourself as a couple into situations where you're going to see your partner doing shit you can't do regularly.
And does that mean just like in the world stuff, not just like they have other body parts that don't, or I can't blow myself. Like she means
right.
They can't,
no.
I need to see them doing
right.
gymnastics.
Yes,
that I can't
that's
do.
right. Uh-huh. Yep. In the world. Okay. So she says that now, okay. Now here's my theory. I think she's probably correct, just from having been in some long-term relationships and having seen what happens over time. You're just like, yeah, he's that guy and he does those things and I love him and he's my best friend. But like, I don't know. Sure. Sex. I don't know. Maybe. Do you want to? Like it can get like that. Right. Whereas like someone new, it's like everything about them is amazing and everything about them is new. And wow, who knew he could wield a screwdriver like that? Pun intended. Okay. I have another theory. I think she is correct. And I want to take her advice if I ever do get married. And my theory is this, that like when you merge with someone, I may have to give some background here. Okay. When I was in the Sufi school, they taught us about the way that the human heart on the energetic level merges with the heart of the beloved, your partner. You literally do become one in the sense that you become a unified field. So there's Desmond and his partner, and then there's the unified field of the two of you together. And that two-ness is one thing. There's like a real thing that happens with a vow and with sex and with coming together like that and living together that creates this unification. The way I've seen it in my psychic third eye is, how I'm always talking about this double helix of the universe? I feel like I'm always talking about it. Maybe it's not here, but
I think you've said something.
Have I ever talked about the double?
I feel like you have.
Okay. Let me back up then. So just to clarify, there's the double helix of your spiritual alignment to the universe. You have like a DNA a spiritual DNA in you that runs through the middle of you. Your partner has one of those. When you come together, those DNA strands, you share them. They merge and they become one DNA strand that is then through your love for one another and your attachment, it merges you with the all that is DNA strand. So there's a DNA strand of the universe that the two of your DNA strands become merged with. It's a really kind of a profound thing. This is why divorce is so fucking painful, is because not only are you like, you have to deal with like money and like separating the house and where the kids go and all the practical things, which is awful, but also the emotional entanglements are so much deeper with a marriage than they are otherwise, because there is something spiritual about that commitment. When you say you and me, and that's it, together, married to the universe, this merging happens on this spiritual level where pulling that apart, no matter how much you hate the person or are ready to divorce them, is incredibly uncomfortable for your fucking spinal column and your nervous system, because your spirit is connected to your body and your emotions and your spinal column. It's all one thing.
Yeah.
So my theory is when you get married and you live together, you merge like that. I think I'm wondering, I might be wrong, that maybe the masculine and feminine poles within each of you balance out. In other words, I watch married couples a lot, and over time, they sort of become super duper equals because of the practical necessity of life. Sometimes you're the one who goes to the grocery store and picks stuff up. Sometimes she's the one who goes to the grocery store and picks stuff up. Sometimes you're making more money. Sometimes she's making more money. Sometimes you get fucked. Sometimes she gets fucked. You don't know. But you become like the masculine and feminine in you kind of balance out, and the masculine and feminine in them balance out. So it yields a net zero friction charge. And part of what Esther Perel says creates long-lasting eros is you have to keep the friction of the polarity of the feminine and the masculine alive. So how do you keep the polarity of the friction that is created by the polarity? You are feminine, I am masculine. How do you keep that if you're both becoming more feminine and more masculine and more balanced, you could say, in these poles, if they are real poles? If that's naturally occurring, how do you keep that tension alive? And I do think it has something to do with seeing each other in a lot of different shapes and forms, trying things, failing, succeeding, needing the person, not needing the person, strength, weakness, all the shapes and colors, so that somehow something can remain surprising. That, or, and this is the end, I swear, that, or maybe some people just have an inherent, like, your energy always is a polarity to my energy, and therefore we're always kind of going to want to bone a lot, but other people just don't have that, and you kind of have to work at it. Done.
May I?
Please do.
Please.
I don't quite have a response yet.
That's interesting, because I feel like couples who fight fuck more. And
Which we've talked about before.
That on the podcast.
That's almost like a false, maybe, if your theory holds, that's like a false cranking of that same tension. It's like, well, we can't get it this way, but we're going to get it this way.
Or is it false? Maybe it's organic. Okay, go ahead, Desmond. So couples who fight fuck.
Yeah, no, I didn't have much more to add than that. And that just keeps that separation alive. It keeps you from becoming one, because you're like, well, fuck you, I don't want Chinese food. Well, fuck you, I want a hamburger. Well, fuck, and it doesn't have to be a knockdown drag out, but just two assholes that won't like agree on what they're gonna have for dinner, end up having sex for dessert.
I mean, I know some couples who have a lot of tension but don't fuck, but that's not necessarily.
Because I want to say, I don't think they're assholes, Desmond. I think that's the mistake. I think that might be a mistake to label them as assholes. I mean, I think some assholes fuck more and fight more. I think you're right. But I also think that owning the lower self more in relationship this is a thing in therapy that comes up all the time. People don't want to own their lower self. They don't want to be like, bitch, I don't want to go to fucking Chinese. You always want to go to Chinese. We want to be like, okay, honey, you want Chinese, but I'm not really feeling it. How about pasta? And now we're all best friends. And so we maintain this harmony all the time. That is a lie because it doesn't honor the lower self. It's like, I'm irritated. You're irritating. The point of the irritation being at the end of the irritation, if you can make your way through it, you're like, oh, I love you. We got back to unity. Let's bone down. Because it's almost like the time away from the unity makes you want the unity more. So it's like we have to be willing to risk losing the relationship entirely by facing the discomfort of owning your lower self. And in so doing, when you stay together after having owned the lower self and taken that risk, you're so much more excited about the fact that they still want to be around you. Because you showed them who you are.
Yeah, I've had that experience in relationships where like it took the sort of painful grind to re-arouse the connection.
Right.
I've definitely, and you know, in other relations, prior to, like throughout my life, that's definitely been the place where things, and it may have, like, I feel like I've been in a relationship where things had gone like, and then we had a really come to Jesus painful grind, which brought us deeper together. And we were able to temporarily reignite that energy, but then it still went down because it was also, it's not a fix. It doesn't save, but there were other problems, but that,
okay.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. I hear you. That makes sense. So then here's a question. And if this gets too personal, we don't have to go here, but if it isn't the physical chemistry, or you could say the sex, if it isn't the sex that's like happening all the time and creating the glue that keeps you together, what does keep you together? Like what keeps you in it?
All the rest of that helix is what keeps you in it. It is the day-to-day. It is the, I don't have kids, so I can't say, but I think it's the household, as long as you are in some form of co-support. It's interdependent.
Harmony.
It's harmony. It's that interdependency. I don't want to say codependency, which it can be also, but that interdependency, that helix you've created that doesn't have a lot of juice on it, but it becomes filial and even agape. And the eros, I agree, it can be challenging. I have observed it not just in myself, but in others, that like the more filial people become, or the more agape even people become, sometimes eros goes away.
Yeah.
Which is frustrating. Now, I don't know if do you have a solve? Well,
okay. Let me explore a couple more questions. And then I do have some ideas of solves. One thing is I could think of I could think of 3 couples I know that have been married a long time that still have regular, excellent sex that they're happy about. One of them is a friend of mine who's an energy worker. She's like in her 60s, and she and her husband, I'm hoping you're hearing this, Desmond, because I want to hear your thoughts on this. Did he nod his head?
Yeah, he's still got his headphones on.
Okay. They're in their 60s. They do the schedule thing. They go Saturday afternoons, no matter what, we get in our bed and we bone down, like period. They put it on the calendar, and she says that for her, it's the glue that keeps them together. She's like, he has his interests and I have mine, and we like each other a lot and we're best friends and I love him and we've been together forever. But the sex, like legitimately, like she's like, and then we feel reconnected and very close after that. So we make sure to always do it. That's number one. Now, she's not saying to me, I'm still so hot for him, I can't help it. I have to have sex with him. I miss him if I don't have sex. She's like, we put it on the calendar like a task and we do it. And then after, as a result of having done it, like when you go to the gym, you don't want to go to the gym. You hate the gym. You go to the gym and after you're like, thank God I went to the gym. Okay, that's one framing. Now I have a different couple friend that I know, this dear friend of mine from junior high. I asked her this recently. We met together and it was great to see her again. And I said, you and your husband seem really great. She's like, yeah, we still have a lot of sex. And I was like, how are you doing that? And she's like, I can't explain it, but we are 15 years in. He's had depression. He's been unemployed. My business has gone down and gone up again. I've lost clients. They tried to have kids, couldn't have kids. Lots of stuff has happened that wasn't easy. And she said, but I don't know why throughout all of it, he's the one person on the earth that just makes my heart pitter patter still every time I see him. And I'm like, wow, they're like a decade in. That seems like a weird miracle. That's like a whole other, they're not putting it on the calendar. They just want to fucking do it. These are 4 different humans, and the 2 different couples of those 4 humans have 2 totally different ways they do it and keep it alive, and totally different reasons they do it and keep it alive. And so I come back to all the time, like, there's no formula and there's no big answer for everybody. I think it's really individual, and it really depends on the individuals in the couple and the dynamics of the couple. And I do kind of think that there are some underlying principles that resonate, because when I think about that second group that I was telling you about, where she still gets Twitter pated, they are very different. And she is what I would call quite, I want to say, normatively feminine in her way of being. And he is quite organically, in and of himself, normatively masculine. And those poles, I mean, they're very different that way. And so that polarity hasn't gone away. She hasn't become more masculine and he hasn't become more feminine. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, yeah, I guess I'm not totally sure. I agree with some of the underlying conceptual underpinnings, but I'm not quite grasping the sort of like, what is the unifying theory here? Like, is there a unifying theory, or is this just a topic of like, I don't know. It's crazy. And I don't say that critically. I say that because I'm kind of struggling with it too. Because I'll start to head down a road of going like, yeah, here's what's underlying all of it. But then I'll be like, no, except there's that, and there's that, and there's that. And part of it is just simply the insane dynamic of 2. We are talking in the more standardized couple pairing, that there so goddamn many ways in which we can not quite notch, our notches don't fit perfectly together. And I think that what happens is, for this couple, it's that they don't talk about it and they both want it, but they're not willing to talk about it. For this couple, it's that they don't need it, because they're getting it elsewhere, and it complicates things if they do it. For this couple, it's that he can't get aroused because she expects it, and if she expects it, it turns him off. Like there's so many like tiny little unfortunate challenges to those little notches, and so I'd love if there was like, but what they all have in common is something about this needing to keep friction, maybe the idea of finding whatever it is, a way to keep some form of sparky friction alive about that balanced merging.
I think it has something to do with the lower self-expression. Like when you're willing to be very authentic and someone else is too, you're going to necessarily run into moments where you're not on the same page.
And somehow that's actually a positive. Yeah. Sorry.
Somehow what?
That actually becomes like, I've framed that in my head as being a problem in the past. And I think what you're maybe suggesting is that that's a source of an inspiration or a source of.
Well, no, what I'm saying is, okay, if I am authentic with my lower self, not my nice lady, and you're authentic with your lower self, not your nice man, we're going to butt heads. And if we can get through the butting heads and hear each other and like get through it, there's something on the other side of that that keeps it sparky enough. So yes, to what you're saying, but it's a little more nuanced because it involves not just avoiding it, not just not avoiding it, but going through it to the other side. And I just wonder about that. Plus the newness thing. But I think the newness thing is attached to, connected to, or related to the lower self-expression thing. Meaning, if you could be authentic, right? Every moment is so unique and provides an opportunity for us to be authentic in that new moment in a new way. You can't predict what your authentic response is going to be in a moment.
Right.
And therefore, if you're being authentic, it is necessarily new often, because when you're inauthentic, that's based on a pattern of sameness. So an example would be something like my programming or my like not being connected to my lower self says, always be supportive, always be supportive. And by always being supportive, I'm not being honest with you the times I disagree with you.
Right.
So it's always the same and it's always safe and nobody's turned on.
Yeah.
But if I'm like supportive, except for when I disagree, and then I'm like, bitch, no, I disagree. I'm sorry. I love you, but I disagree. That's like a surprise that you have to navigate. And if you can handle that surprise, you might just be like, that lady's kind of hot for calling me on my stuff right there, or for whatever.
Yeah, I've definitely experienced that, where I literally have had it told to me, like, that was hot when you actually challenged me on that, or when you said no. That was actually fucking awesome. We should bring Rachel on here. She's been waiting, but that's amazing. No, I think you found the unifying theory, Katie.
You think?
It's the newness. And I don't mean like, change it up in the bedroom, but like staying authentic to the truth.
The moment.
The moment. So it's not always the same to be predicted. Yeah. All right. Yeah. I love it. I think you did.
The wife. Thank you.
Rachel Hamilton.
Yeah. Hello.
Hey.
Hello. Hi.
So wait, Rachel, do you and Katie know each other at all? Never met. Oh my God. Two of the best goddamn improvisers in the world right here. And
God damn it. That sounds good. We should meet one another.
And 900 people I know have said, how have you two not met? And I'm like,
wow.
I don't know what the universe is up to. I'm not in charge. I don't fucking know. But here you are.
Here I am. And I've had one person tell me about you 900 times. So
Fontana.
Cassidy. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I do know that Cassidy has brought you up many times.
Not Fontana? Do you know Fontana?
I do know Fontana. Yes, I love Fontana.
Well, Fontana's brought you up 97 times, sister.
Well, shoot, I'm going to check my ledger to see about me.
All Fontana.
17.
All Fontana all day. That's what it is.
I like how you say Fontana, because it's kind of accurate. I think maybe she is a Fontana, but I say fawn. Like as though it's AWN, but it's not.
Aren't you from like Chicago or something though, Ray?
No, I spent my 20s. I went to college at Northwestern and then spent time in Chicago 7 years after that. But I'm from DC.
But still, there's that East Coast fawn.
Yeah, I come. Also, my mom is a Texan who tried very hard to get rid of that quickly. So I have a slightly affected DC thing going on, like as though I'm trying not to show my Texas from last generation. That's how I see it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Hey, well, welcome here, Rachel. Thanks for being with us.
So happy to be here. And I love how little I know about what's happening because you guys have all the answers.
Yeah. Congratulations. You've come to the right place.
Yay. That feels true. That feels true.
Have you had a chance? Have you heard any, not that you need to, and this is not a test, but have you heard any of us? Yeah.
Yes. I listened to the point where you had the guest on and then you started asking questions because I think maybe not knowing, like, I'm so, beginner's mind and really open-hearted about this whole idea that I just love the idea of having zero even reference to how someone else's went. This is a very classic improviser way of saying, like, I haven't done that much research, but I know that I'm into it. And that was a choice, not me being a slacker.
Right.
Or they cross over a lot, but still, yeah.
Oh, it's a deep, deep crossover point.
It is.
Deep. I'm right there with you. But I actually, on that point, am a very big, we're going to talk about human design for a second because I come back to human design a lot.
Yeah.
You know human design?
I know of it this much. I know enough to know that it's vast and fascinating.
Vast and fascinating indeed. Well, here's one of the things that I continue to get from it in my chart. Okay. I'm a 6-2 line. And one of the things they say about the 6-2 is that they tend to be the natural. In other words, a 6-2 will be just naturally good at certain things and then really not good at a lot of things. And the natural is not meant to like, there's this programming we have from the culture, right? That says like, well, you have to work hard and get good at stuff. And then you get good. And that's how you work hard and good again. And the natural goes, that feels totally wrong in my body. I'm just going to do what I'm naturally good at. Yeah. And for a long time, I thought that was something that could be taught. Like as a teacher, I was like, just trust your instinct. Some people are not naturals at things. Some people really are the kind of person where their auric field and their gates and channels add up to, you've got to practice hard because you're not natural at anything. And so there are different kinds of people on this kind of topic. And to get back to this point, what they say about the natural is we should not prepare.
Yes.
And we should show up and trust that we know and that the moment will dictate what is required.
Yeah.
I have found in my life that is the only way things ever work ever in my life. When I try to control it ahead of time and know the answers, which is why the podcast is called All the Answers, it's called irony, I'm in trouble. But if I just show up and I trust, everything works. But not everybody is that way. So I think your improviser idea, is it laziness? Is it just how you flow? I would argue it's actually probably you're just lucky and you have that flow thing. And I bet you're natural at a lot of things that don't require preparation.
Yeah, I think that has been true for me. And then it both is it's exciting to be like kind of naturally adept at things. And then it also, I can rely on it too much, where I don't put in enough effort, or what happens next, how do you get, how to combine, practice toward mastery and be a natural, Yeah. But in this case, it feels really good to show up blank slatey. And what you're talking about, human design, I've had, it is so classic for me that I can't quite remember what I am, except I think it's it's not a projector. It's one that is not supposed to be doing the much. I think I'm a reflector.
Okay, hold on.
And so
let's pause. This is important because a projector, quite different from reflector.
Yeah.
But they're both unique in that 60% of the population is a generator.
Right.
60%.
Right.
And if you're not a generator, you're already on the fringes. So here's the thing about reflectors though, 2% of the population is reflectors.
Yes. And then the projector is like 10%. Is that right?
Say again.
I'm looking at like 10% of the population is reflectors. It's also a small number, not quite 2. I think it's the
projectors.
I think I'm a projector. What I was doing is looking at my phone because am I going to pull up my actual chart? Would I be able to find it in this moment? I'm not sure.
Oh,
are you saying that I ought to look for it?
If you want.
Sure.
Okay.
If you want.
See, one thing I don't even know about what's happening here is this is all being recorded, right?
Yeah, it's fine. We have an editor. It's all good.
Nice.
Or this will all be in it. Nobody cares.
Perfect.
We have conversations. I want to say while you're looking it up, I just want to say the challenge, I feel I'd never heard that idea of the natural frame like that, Katie. And I love it. And I actually think I am also one. It sounds like I'm a natural. No, but because the positive is that I have a very quick learning curve for certain things. Like, boom, I'm in. Oh yeah, I got that. What? But as a result, I'm not good at getting good at things I'm not good at.
Right.
Like I've tried musical instruments, a gajillion of them, and I've gotten barely passable at the ukulele after 50 years of life. Like, because I don't have the tools to work at something.
Yeah.
Because I'm natural at the things I am natural at.
Well, I was going to say, is that also because we were raised by groovy parents instead of for me, I feel like my mom was not big on instilling that sort of discipline, if you will, for lack of, versus like a mom who's going to make their kid practice the piano for an hour a day. My mom was,
No, I have to step in and go, I don't think so. I actually have a pretty strong opinion on this. It's just an opinion, just a butthole. That's all it is. But my butthole says, I think not. And here's why. From what I've read, like I'll use myself as an example. My mother was you will practice the piano, you will go to tennis, you will do choir. And I hated all of it except choir. Why? Because I was naturally good at choir. And then eventually I was able to manipulate her into not having me do tennis or fucking piano anymore, because you had to like practice and it didn't come organically to me. And then guess what I got real good at? Fucking singing, because that's what I'm supposed to be fucking taking time doing, because it's organic to me. And she was all about discipline. So my theory is, like, no matter what your parents did, if it doesn't work for you, eventually you're just going to be like, well, I guess my mom hates me, or I'm a renegade, or I'm all fucked up, or I'm amazing, or however you frame it in your mind. Eventually you're going to go, I can't play fucking tennis.
Well, what about the meta skill of being able to do a thing for an hour a day? Even if your mom had pointed you in directions that were not in alignment with your naturalness, are there things that when you dig it and you discover that you'd like to pursue it, that you have a structure inside of yourself to actually go to it an hour a day so that you can improve in this methodical way?
I think so. It's just that you're in the human design perspective, what they would say is that you won't have the energy for it. So human design is very big on, you either have the energy for something, in which case that's a thing that is correct for you, or you don't have the energy for it. So if you, for example, wind up thinking in your mind, which the mind is always programming, right? It's the body that knows what is correct from the human design perspective. So if your mind says, well, I should just commit an hour a day because that's what Jerry Seinfeld did, and so I want to be successful at whatever, I'm going to do an hour a day of whatever. And you get to that hour and you have no fucking energy for it. And you're just like, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. Or if you're like some of us, and you can push your way through it and make yourself do it. Yeah. My experience is those things never come to fruition anyway. You may push yourself and make yourself do it, but it doesn't land. It never becomes the screenplay you sell. It never becomes the relationship that works. It doesn't, because the universe, if you buy into this notion, right? The universe, it's like, you are perfectly designed to do what you are perfectly designed to do. So when you try to operate as someone else, and that means you're outside of your correct operational format, if you will, it's very sort of mechanistic, I know. Nothing from the universe can latch up with you and align things correctly, because you're not operating correctly as you.
Right. That
so
makes
it
sense.
does.
Yeah. I loved what I loved about human design. And so my guy was Richard Beaumont. Do you know him? He's out of England. He's a really cool teacher. Loved him and did a couple one-on-ones with him around human design. And he gave me these great readings, which again, I realized were like, there's so much more that I'm grasping in here, even though he so beautifully went through every element of it. But one thing I remember very vividly is this really seeing the way in which I was trying to be, I think, a generator, to use the jargon of the actual, like that I think I was pushing myself to be a person who is in that mode of working really hard to make shit happen, and then really busting my own balls for being much more kind of laid back and more receptive and kind of following my nose and what have we here. And the human design, and I do think it is reflector, that basically it was like, it's my job. It's not my job to go out and get it. It's my job to like hear the clarion, feel the clarion, to wait. And that was so liberating when he said, wait, don't, it was great. Such a beautiful,
so just
very hard to do. Yes.
100%. And just to be anal, because why not? We all like a little butt play from time to time. Just to be anal, I'll say, you're welcome. I'll say it would be the manifester that is the one that goes out and gets it.
Oh, okay.
Not the generator. But the reason I just want to say that is for anyone listening that actually like is into human design. If you're a generator, your strategy is usually wait to respond. If you're a manifester, it's go out and make it happen. But manifestors are like 6% of the population. Some other small number. Maybe it's 20, but 60% is supposed to wait to respond. But of all that 60%, what tends to happen is generators think they're supposed to be manifestors, and manifestors think they're supposed to be generators. So manifestors who are organically designed to like go fucking out there, initiate, start. They'll be like, God, I'm too much. I'm too direct. I should just chill. And generators are like, God, I'm so chill. Why don't I fucking get off my ass? I should go do something. And all of that is the should programming, because nobody's listening to their body, which if you were listening to your body, you would just trust your impulses and instincts, and that takes time to develop and so on. But the reflector, if you're a reflector, maybe you know this already, but just because I'm so excited about what it does for people when they get this one.
Yeah.
This fucking blows my mind about reflectors. Do you know that a reflector is supposed to wait? This is crazy.
Okay.
You're supposed to wait a full cycle of the moon to make any decision.
Oh, girl, you mean like 28 days? Like that kind of cycle?
Yeah.
That's the cycle.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh, it feels so liberating.
So in other words,
it makes all of my, if I get an email back in 30 days, that's a win, right?
That is okay. Here's why. Reflectors have, I think it's like every center, I might be wrong here. So the human design people who know better, please tell me. But I believe what it is that reflectors have every channel is open, or I'm sorry, every center is undefined.
Yes, so that's exactly it. Everything is undefined.
So then you're a reflector, and that means you have to wait. I can't believe I'm a manifesting generator. So my big challenge in life is like, I have to go 45 times slower than I want to go. I want to go now and do everything now, but it's all, nope, you got to wait. But not as long as the reflector has to wait. Reflector has to wait 30 goddamn days.
Well, 28.
Getting fair enough.
Honoring.
Did you just moonsplain her? I think you
moonsplained her. I totally moonsplained her. Moonsplain. I will be moonsplained too at any time. Be delighted about it. Yeah. So, but you just said I'm a manifesting generator. You just merged the manifestor and the generator. I thought those were no. Okay.
Yeah, no. So there's a thing called a manifestor, a generator, a manifesting generator, projector, reflector, and there might be one more.
Inspector.
But it's its own
connector. Director.
No. Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Yes, I know the woman who first mentioned human design to me. It's a very groovy, very, she's a psychedelic therapist, and she's done a lot of modalities and whatever. And she was like, human design is the one that has most really helped her land in herself in this way that has been so, permissive. Like I'm very much into the Enneagram. I'm deep into the Enneagram. And yeah, nice. You can totally geek out on that as well.
So let's do it.
But all of these ways in which these frameworks, and I think human design and Enneagram, they're also working on very spiritual levels. So it's not quite just, framework is such a weak word, but these ways of thinking about ourselves, I think just really afford so much relaxing into who we are, who I am. And if I can get off my own ass about not generating at least by 20% more, because I know that I'm a reflector and that's not what I do, I'm all for it.
Yes. So I'm right there with you. I so agree. That's what I love so much about human design is, and the gene keys. If you've gotten into that at all, the gene keys.
No, unfamiliar.
Oh my God.
I don't think you've ever spoken that phrase on the podcast yet. Katie.
I know.
Gene
I'll
keys.
get there.
Okay.
Whole new world's opening up. Wow.
Now, here's the thing about the gene keys. They're like, take all that complexity of human design and simplify it down into 3 tiny little books that answer every fucking question you've ever had about yourself. That's the gene keys.
Wow.
They are amazing. I'm deep into them right now. It's like there was a guy, Richard Rudd, inside of the human design structure who broke off and saw, channeled, or became aware of whatever the gene keys. And essentially, oh my God, I get excited just talking about this. Essentially, the gene keys break down your whole life purpose. And then in the first sequence of it, the second sequence is called the Venus sequence, and it breaks down everything about your relational patterning, where you fail in relationships, where you succeed, what works, what doesn't work. And then your abundance patterning, like what makes abundance happen for you fluidly? Like, how are you successful in the world? All 3, like whole life purpose, all your relational dynamics, and how to be successful as your individual self. It's all there.
Does it have that quality that I find so vivid in the Enneagram, where when you discover your gene key, you feel somehow nailed? Like, that is so on. Who's inside of my head taking notes? That kind of thing.
1,000%.
And do you have the same response also of like, fuck you? Nuh-uh.
Right.
Because that's
Wait,
the
that's
standard
so
Enneagram
spot on.
reaction of
Yes.
is like, no, shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
right into like, that hurts
Yeah.
because it's
So
true.
if you haven't looked at your stuff yet and you haven't faced
Yeah.
your ego, then you'll have that
Yeah.
reaction. But if you
Yeah.
have, you'll be like, how could he possibly know
Yeah.
this much? Because think of it this way. Picture 1, 2, 3, 4 balls, like little spheres connected by individual lines. And then picture 6 more spheres inside of that connected by individual lines. Then 3 more. Each of those spheres has 3 aspects to it that when you look at it, you go, oh my fucking, each of the 3 aspects speaks to your, we'll frame it. I'm going to say the wrong words, but it's like when you're at your default, when you're doing well, and when you're killing it. And you'll look at those 3 aspects for one of the spheres and you'll be like, how does this fucking piece of paper know that in relationships, when I'm a piece of shit, it's pushy. When I'm doing well, it's receptive, but direct. And when I'm killing it, it's majesty. Like whatever, it's amazing because of its specificity.
I
Very, very
love
specific.
that. I love that. First of all, the fact that it's a second, you said that the founder, creator, downloader, she just had a vision. She channeled it, right? Which is also, I think, what happened with human design.
Yeah. So I guess with human design, that guy, when you know from human design how complex and subtle it is, imagine like what kind of mind and being you have to channel that kind of detail, right?
Yeah.
Right? Then, okay, so Richard Rudd, this other guy, from years of being inside human design, kind of like saw through the whole hologram of it and went like, also this.
Yes. Yes. And so it can't, like human design, maybe 4 decades old max, right? So then like
something like that.
It's like this, I wonder if there's going to be another, I like what you did, birthing out of gene keys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I bet.
It's amazing.
Who knows, right? Consciousness, right? Continuing to unfold.
Yes.
There's so much to look at right now in consciousness and going forward that like, it's almost lately I have this feeling of like, there's almost literally no reason to look back ever.
Well, we're in a consciousness revolution, aren't we? You mean like,
indeed,
not looking back in terms of old modalities, old system making, structures, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Kind of like if you
like, we don't need Myers-Briggs because we got gene keys redux, whatever comes out of that. Yeah.
Kind of. That's a perfect example. I was thinking more like, we don't really need to go back and look at the I don't know, the Upanishads or go sit with a master in India, because you can just contemplate your gene keys and blow your shit open. But you can also go sit with a guru in India. That's fine too, because I've done it. They blow your shit open or do fucking ayahuasca. Whatever you do is fine.
So much shit to get through to get blown open. In some ways, it's like all parties welcome. Whatever gets you there, as it were.
Do something.
I think for me, it's like there's so much in the for God's sake,
dear
do your work,
dear universe. Yes,
I'm just saying that there's so much information right now that's available that's so progressive and effective. Yeah, it's not just progressive, like new stuff. It's progressive and effective. Yeah, that you could just start now and never have to look back if you wanted to. Yeah, and if you could get in there and realize sort of your own style, how it is that you are most receptive, and then train your sights on that opening. Like as an Enneagram type 7, I need it to be fun. I want it to be exciting. So gamify it for me. Make it a human design dance party, and I'm there. You know what I mean? Like, okay. Yeah. Now, I'm excited. Yes, I do know what you mean. I want to ask you a question about that, if I may. Yeah, because something I struggle with the Enneagram is, and by the way, I feel like we should do a better intro of you and be like, ladies and gentlemen, this is Rachel Hamilton. She does these things in the world. Can you maybe all of those true? Do you want of those? I don't know. Sure. Can you? Yeah. This is Rachel Hamilton. I am calling in from Sausalito, California, and I'm an improviser. I'm a creative. Create tricks. I don't know what the fuck I am these days. I'm doing a lot of interesting things. This is a terrible goddamn introduction. What would a reflector say? I don't know. You tell me.
Rachel Hamilton is an improviser extraordinaire. One of the best people to watch in improv. Anytime I get the chance, it's a joy. She is a fantastic teacher of improv. I have still not had the chance of taking Rachel's Enneagram in improv workshop, which I'm dying to take. I can only imagine how awesome it would be. And I hope we get to talk a little bit about that idea, because the concepts of the true improv mind or the beginner mind are they're fucking spiritual, and they're important, and they're deep to everything we talk about here. So that's how I know Rachel.
Thank you, Cassidy. That's so much better to be introduced.
Exactly. And
Thank you.
I've enjoyed, and I know you go back to a lot of, I first met Rachel. This is my little quick story.
Oh.
We figured out like 30 years ago by accident. We became friends here in the Bay Area like 10 maybe years ago or so. But then as part of a conversation, we discovered that we'd actually met like 15 years prior at a party at my house in Santa Fe, because you had been on the touring company of Second City, and you came through Santa Fe, and my little scrappy improv troupe went to your show, and we're like, you guys want to fucking party? And you're like, yeah, we're in a town. Why don't we go to someone's house and drink beers? So y'all came to my beautiful house in Santa Fe, and we had a good time.
Nice. Yes. Thank you for remembering that part of our story.
Weird framing of Rachel Hamilton. We go way back and only a little farther back.
And maybe lives.
It's true.
Previous lives. We don't know.
Maybe we'll discover that.
Ooh, we can look at that in the records today if you want.
Cassidy and Rachel have a pre-existing condition.
Yeah.
Nice.
So we also know, just to also brag more about you, we know that you've done some TV, some film, some both of those things.
Yeah, a little bit of that. Been in sort of all variety of showbiz until maybe about 5 or 6 years ago, where I just didn't really go for that so much anymore. With I did a little baby part in a movie a couple times last year, but I'm not really pursuing it. I love it, but it's not.
Yeah.
I've turned 51, and there's a very big difference in my drive. And I'm actually really only interested in work that really feeds my soul, that really that I can really get excited about and really dig into. And I was taking a bit of a pause to kind of discover what that next move was. Partly also perimenopause. Let's not be like, I just had an energy shift, and I was like, I need to reevaluate what I want to be doing in the world. So I was in that mode when COVID hit. So now I'm like in double mode of it's actually, in terms of leaving myself alone to just give myself time and space. COVID has been really helpful because it has counteracted that part of me that is from a very hyperactive, accomplished super family in Washington, D.C. and like running and gunning.
It was a lot harder to should on yourself because there was nowhere to should to.
Right. So. Although that's like part that muscle's kind of like, what should I be doing? I'm sure they're supposed to. How am I supposed to? Like, it's still alive, even though it's almost like on autopilot. But yes, it has been reduced. So part of that was like shopping around for what feels like my next move, and now knowing that the world is going to be so different when we do really emerge from COVID. I think it's my human design facilitator said, ponder the Clarion. And he was like, just keep listening for where you are being called. That's where
what is the Clarion?
The Clarion, it's a term for, I think of it as like a tone you can hear. I think it's from angelic realms, but what it means in this context is the message that is most important that is coming through, probably at a level that you have to get pretty quiet to hear. It's coming from inside the house.
I get
so
it.
Like let the root chakra, I'm making that part up, but just like let it bubble up instead of like, let me look up one thing. Should I do this graduate school, or should I start that theater community, or should I, create artistic housing for,
I know
people who need financial, like whatever. So it's like this, so I'm in kind of more of the play, like that the COVID lockdown has allowed me to sink more into that mode without feeling like, I don't know, all the things I would feel like I'm missing out, or I'm letting people down, or I'm, behind, chronically behind. Yeah.
Well, this is the thing that so many people are getting from COVID. And this is like one of the main gifts of COVID, right? Has been so many people like, you can't be on the rat race or on the hamster wheel. So you're like slowly getting to detox off the adrenaline of it and look around and secretly go, actually, I kind of never liked it. Or like, I did like it, but like only on Tuesdays.
Right.
Or, you know, whatever's true for you. It's like such an opportunity for people to start to hear their own organic flow and timing. I have to apologize to everyone. The Wi-Fi is so bad on this call right now. I'm really all over the place hearing you. I'm losing every other word you say. I'm actually just going to hang up for 1 minute and come right back because I don't want to miss what you're saying.
You're going to come back with your Enneagram question, right?
Oh, I've got it, girl. I'm ready. I have it right here. I'll be right back. Okay. Sorry about that, Rachel.
No worries.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay. I'm going to dive in right into my Enneagram question. Okay. So, you know how there's like, so I'm an 8.
Oh, well.
I know. I'm just kidding. But like,
but I have an 8 wing. Right? I have an 8 wing. So yes, we overlap in that department. Yes.
Okay. So the 8, right? Very, it can be a tricky energy for other humans in the 8, right?
I think it would rank as people's scariest type.
I agree.
Yeah. With that part
100%.
of that reaction that you just had of like, right? I'm an 8. I know. Right. So you could tap into any number of Enneagram events or conferences and someone says, you know, I'm Diane, I'm an 8. You can hear it like,
I know.
Like people
or I'm Diane, I'm an 8. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's don't say that much. You know?
I fucking do. I do. Because
that's your
I've worked so
yeah.
That's true. Yeah. No, you're 100% right. But that's because I mean, also I've worked so much with the bullying energy and the vengeance energy. You know how they say the 8 is moving from vengeance to innocence?
Yeah.
I find that to be deeply true. Like all the spiritual work I've done has taken me to like, I look around a lot and I go, God, I have literally no edge left. None. Inside myself, none. Everyone who interacts with me is like, you're crazy. You're the edgiest person I know.
I know exactly what you mean, and that I can relate to that. Like in my own self-monitoring, I just said that in the kindest, gentlest way. And then my friend or my partner will be like, ouch, that was harsh. What? Are you fucking kidding? And then I get harsh, right? Because it's like you talk, but there is a way in which I have like a little bit of an energy attack that to some types can feel present when I am doing my damnedest. I know for a fact it's not there, and they say, there it is.
Exactly. Now, here's my question, because I said I had a question. I'm going to try to figure out, when you said a minute ago, oh, I'm a 7, so it has to be fun for me, gamify it for me. What I hear you doing there quite successfully is honoring the personality level inclination of the 7. You're saying, listen, bitch, I need diversity and change and excitement. And that's the 7. I need it to be different and fun and games. Now, as an 8, I've gotten really good at like deepening into not being such an 8, but because you kind of fucking have to in this world. Like I don't miss some of that old edge that I carried because it hurt inside my body. Like I feel great with the work I've done. However, leaning into, or I could say like owning the active personality level traits of the 8 has been quite a journey to get to where I'm okay with also being a challenger and a leader and someone who says, this is what we're doing now. And I'm okay with that. And I know you're going to benefit from it. So go ahead and follow me. And if you don't want to follow me, it's okay. Go over there. I love you. You're fine. I don't need you to follow me. My ego's not attached, but it's what this system has to do. So the question is, I am not getting to the question. The question is, I thought for a long time that the idea of like being aware of your type on the Enneagram was about learning almost how to fully dissolve into or transcend the personality traits attributed to the individual number you have and to become like the higher frequency of it. In other words, move from vengeance to innocence. That is a shift in frequency, right? But I'm hearing you honor the personality traits. So can you talk a little bit about that? Like, are we to transcend our 7-ness if we're a 7 and then become some other energy, or embody it, or both, or what?
We will never lose the fact that we inhabit a particular Enneagram type in our personality level. That's not going away. what you were describing before in Gene Keys with the 3 levels was reminding me of what Riso added to the Enneagram, which is these levels of development, right? And there's 9 levels of development that are a vertical, if you think about the Enneagram being a pizza with its numbers, right? So it's lying flat like that, and then a stack of 9 other, levels underneath it. So the unhealthy levels are the bottom 3. So 7, 8, 9 in the, and then the average levels, 4, 5, and 6, which is where most of us are living in terms of our functionality in our own type. And then the higher levels, above average or healthy, I think they're called in the model. But so we're moving up and down those levels all the time. So I'm not going to leave 7. I'm not going to leave 7. So the fact that I want, that I know that it would be great if the invitation to the event that you're trying to get me to, or the thing I'm trying to learn has like, what about if there's a musical intro? What about if there's jazzy colors? What about if people in the group have the opportunity to, pop in and share, or like ways in which I can design a thing to knowing how it is that I want to operate. And let's call that average. But if I'm at an unhealthy level, then I can get pathological about, I'm not doing anything because it's not fun and I'm just going to blow it all off and I'm going to go do, a giant Coke binge in Vegas for, like I can go like really low level, or I can go super high level and be, Oprah Winfrey, who gets to lead her life interviewing another amazing person in another amazing place every day. And what that does is allows all this abundance that the passion of the type 7 is gluttony, right? That gluttony at its worst is really damaging, but gluttony, where I can take in a lot, I can process a lot, I can share a lot, and it's no longer really gluttony as much as it is shared abundance. So I, the goal for all types is to get enough out of my own types that I can see it at work, and I'm at some choice instead of being jacked around by my type, which was me in my 20s. I was doing like, I would overbook myself. The gluttony of my schedule was insane. This party, that party, fly to go to that weekend, leave early to get to this thing late because I just want to do it all. This appetite for life that was undigested, right? So tons and tons of input, not a lot of digestion. And so, so the path of integration for the 7 is to slow down and stop moving around so much, which actually has to do with being able to be with sadness, because that is why the 7 is moving so quickly.
That's what the 7 fears and doesn't want to look at.
That's right.
Doesn't want to get stuck in sadness, because at some point they felt, this maybe in a way that they can explain from their own life or not, but there's a very clear feeling in me as a 7 of being easily feeling like I'm trapped. So how do I work with that and not let it immediately have me unconsciously sever a relationship, or, say no to an opportunity because I'm afraid of the schedule, or like, how do I not act so abruptly from my type and actually sit with my type and go, okay, let me wait 28 days. That's a really good tip for this. That's like such fucking permission. So I'll be like, I'll let you know. Wait 28 days. And really letting me sink into that decision and like slow it down. So it's my type isn't gone. I still want to, impulsively move quickly and switch shit around when I'm dissatisfied and all these type 7 things. But I now have enough of myself outside of that type where I can witness that. So it's like I approach my type as like, at my best, my type also shows me my superpowers. So it's it's a guidebook to me.
Every one of them has a superpower, and that's what I think is so powerful. I've also heard that the sort of growth, like you don't grow out of through work transcend your type. No, but like I've heard it described as like a peg and a rubber band within the type. If you have like a ladder of 9 pegs, and let's say you're in level 1 of the average, so you're at the 4th peg, right?
Yeah.
And for the most part, you're going to have a little rubber band that kind of can go stretchy up and stretchy down, one or two peg holes throughout your life. But then you'll have transformative moments or true shifts, true changes, spiritual shifts, spiritual epiphanies, whatever it is, significant, that will actually move your peg up or down. A significant trauma can move your peg down. Then your peg is, so you can climb your peg through work, but it's still within your type.
Yeah. Like
and then you're still moving around.
Changes.
Yeah, your set point changes. I think that's what they have.
Yeah. In my experience, that is how it works. Yes.
I love it. Okay. Now here's my next question. And this is a common one I think people ask, but c'est la vie. When I was younger, if I look back at my life, for a long time, I would have said I was a 7. But having read the Enneagram, just having grown or whatever and gotten older, I realized, oh no, I've always been an 8, but I sure lived like I was an 8 with a 7, like a hardcore. Now I live like I'm an 8 with a 9 wing. And I'm wondering, does that mean I was always an 8 with a 9 wing, but I just was doing some 7 shit? Or does that mean I have 2 wings? Or does that mean, what does that mean?
Well, the answer to any of that is only something that you can know. And I will say that it's helpful to think about the Enneagram in terms of how I was in my mid-20s, when I was 25, and I can remember enough about it to, reflect and see what I was up to and remember my internal experience. And it's a less therapized version of my current self. I've done much work on myself in the last 25 years. So it's this purer version of, and I find that's a very cool direct line. But some things, direct line to sort of discovering where my type is. But I think people, it's different types are prone to thinking that they are different types for various reasons. I would not say that an 8, I don't think of an 8 as a type. 8s don't struggle much with self-doubt. That's more of a 6 thing, right? Which is one of the problems with 8 for others, is that they can seem arrogant and they're so confident or so direct and certain in their authority. They're authoritative. And so that it can feel to others maybe like new ideas are not let in and they're being, steamrolled like that. But so in a typing interview, I might ask a question. Do you, if I thought maybe you were an 8, I would say, so do you have an average or above average or below average number of, broken relationships? Have you gotten feedback that you are too much? And have you been, are those relationships over? Because that's more of an 8 thing than a 7 thing. A 7 thing might be,
So the answer for Katie is yes.
Yeah.
I hate that I can answer for Katie, which I know I shouldn't.
Yeah, well, 8s get in trouble. And so as 8s grow into more understanding of their own vulnerability and be moving into the heart space, which is where the 8s meet, because they can be bombastic and
that's the whole thing.
Yeah. And so opening that heart space, the 8 starts to understand their impact on other people. And then high-end 8 is freaking Martin Luther King.
I know.
Because it's like a powerful person willing to stand out in front of the crowd. They're leaders. Most of our leaders are 8s, 6s, or 3s. And 8s in leadership. So I hear you. Like, it is so tricky to be like a bossy boots in the world, but also we need bossy boots because
I know
we need leadership.
I know.
God damn it. So
I think that people in the Enneagram world always resist me on this, but I just can't. I think I'm an 8 with 2 wings.
I think that's,
and
that's a thing. That's a thing.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There's always people saying like, no, but only like this many people can be that. And you're not. And I'm like, but I lived my life, not you.
Yeah. So Russ Hudson, who's my teacher and kind of the guy, he works from a very spiritual perspective on this. And he would be so pissed that someone is coming up to you and schooling you on your own situation, because that's Enneagram, rule
101
is you don't get to tell anyone else their type experience. And so the wings being the numbers on either side of your number. So for you, type 8 has a 7 wing and or a 9 wing. Some would say that you lean way into one, and some would say that you can certainly have both. I mean, I'll say that for myself, I feel both 6 and 8. I think I feel 8 more. It's not an exact replica, but and the answer to that question is, it's really not. To some degree, how much does it actually matter if I'm a 7 or an 8? It's just like understanding that this energy feels like this in this moment. Like I feel, harmonious. So there's my 9 wing. I feel like I want to take out the kinks of the situation and make sure everyone's comfortable and like, let's just chill the fuck out. Like 9s can do so beautifully. Everyone loves a 9 because they don't really come up with many needs. They're, the average level 9, they're really just rolling with it. So for an 8 or a 7 who's got really clear, I want to do this, or an 8's, more like we're doing this, to feel that 9 energy, really, I could call it my wing, or I could call it, I'm feeling some 9 energy.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I would say it's what's useful. Like it has been super useful to me to move toward what in the Enneagram world for a 7 is called sobriety.
I remember this.
Which means calm the fuck down.
Yeah.
Take it down a notch. Let's do less. Let's you don't need 500 versions of it, whatever it is. Let's do 3, like removing the gluttony. So that path feels extremely useful to me. And the 8 path too of trying not to wound people with my intensity, which despite my best efforts and writing that line of, which I get to, of like, I don't want to have to be the one to change. Why can't you be a little more fucking robust?
Exactly. Grow a fucking pair.
Why do
for a
I
second.
need to calm down? Can you fucking bone up? God damn it.
Exactly.
That brings us back to our opening topic. Grow a pair so we can bone up.
So thank you for that, Rachel. This is so helpful. I love it so much. I'm a big fan of Chris Hewertz's work on the Enneagram, the Sacred Enneagram.
Okay. That's a new one, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
In the last few years.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, he's so articulate and specific about everything. And he frames the whole thing. He comes, I think, from a Christian background and isn't so Christian now, but like has that lens of spirituality that flows through it. And he is an 8. And so it's so helpful for me personally to hear a spiritual 8, which is what I am, talk about that and be able to name all the nooks and crannies. But I also find, his work on every number, there's a great podcast called Sleeping at Last. Where there's a musician whose podcast it is, who makes a song for each number. So he's got a whole episode of the podcast for the number 1 and 2 and 3 and so on. And he describes to you his whole process of making the song and why he made the song and why is the timpani here and why is the whatever. But in each episode, he brings Chris Hewertz on as an expert to talk about that number for like a good half hour. And I have found Chris Hewertz in that podcast, Sleeping at Last, his half hour on each of the numbers, fully revolutionarily helpful.
Yay. I love it. That's the Enneagram is, well, it's like improv in that it's an ongoing, unfolding tradition that we are, it's a work in progress that we are building as we go, that has some basic sort of known knowns, accepted knowns, but then also how are people working with it and flowering with it. And there's so much of it that is reductive and diminished and parlor gamey. And you're a 2. That means you like to help people. So you must, it's like, it just gets really small and it takes all the heart out of it. But then there are these other people on the other side who are opening it and to allow it to flower in these other ways. And I love that, it's amazing to have found a teacher that speaks to you that way, because again, there are many, many, many ways to describe, how do I want to go into the description of that type, or many people are into, let's go into instincts first, because that's a bigger level than, so it is this time last year, I was at the Cairo Enneagram Festival. I was in Egypt with Russ Hudson, my Enneagram teacher, who took us on an origins of the Enneagram trip, to ancient Egypt. And it was awesome. We were there 3.5 weeks, and it ended with the Cairo Enneagram Festival. So here I am in these breakout sessions with a bunch of Egyptians, but also people from all over the Middle East talking about the Enneagram, and they're newer. So it was this like entry level, but not reductive, just like how they got in was more basic, whereas as Russ is coming from the spiritual part, like why it's important that the 8 energy gets released into the air, because we need it, and so for us to stay small in our fixations, and the 8 just remains an asshole who's breaking shit around them and not knowing it, well, then we don't get to release all that gorgeous, 8 higher energy, which changes the world. So yay for the 8.
Thank you. I've been really lucky to have a great therapist who, it's fun to me to look at the crossover points between the therapy language and the Enneagram language, or the therapy language and human design, like all of that, right?
Yeah.
And her framing of something that really helped me as an 8 was, she was like, you have to get, Katie, that there is something called healthy aggression, and there is something called healthy anger. And we've been working on it for years, because the world was trying to program me out of having fucking balls. And And I have fucking balls.
Right.
I know that's like a fucking, not racist.
Gendered.
That's a gendered, whatever the fuck. I don't care right now. It's just, you get my point.
Yes, I feel them. I hear them clanging as we speak.
Oh no.
Anyway,
oh no, but it is
the
so
balls
gendered.
were clanging.
But what I was
It is so
going to say
gendered. It's like we don't get to be big because we're ladies.
Totally. Where I learned it so well was this is an odd place to work this through, but I got it. I was teaching a lot of improv and stand-up comedy writing and acting to corporate people at the Stanford University Continuing Studies Department. And what I would run into is a lot of older white men who know everything about their field and come to this they come to the Stanford Continuing Studies because they're like, well, it's Stanford, so it's up to my standards. But it's continuing studies, so I can still be the alpha in this room and fucking take all the fucking space in the room and not listen to the lady teacher. So I don't like that. And I was clear with them. And I was really conflicted about it for a while in therapy. And I would go into therapy and be like, okay, we are going to tease apart this interaction I had yesterday with Joe fucking Schmo in my goddamn improv class, because I need you, therapist, to tell me, was I being a dick? Did I steamroll this guy? Or was that appropriate what I did because he's being a fucking dick? Help me, help. And we would tease apart, Rachel, these interactions one by one until I, in my gut, understood the difference between an aggression that is appropriately stopping something inappropriate versus an aggression that just wants something for its own sake. Like if I aggressively stop you from doing something because I need to show you how big and bad I am, that doesn't serve.
Feel different in your body? How do you know? How do you know from the inside what's just happened?
That's what I'm saying is that we teased apart each interaction because I'm so willing to look at myself. I do not want to be a bully. And I cannot repress my energy. They can't, neither of those things work in my reality. So that is a conundrum for someone like myself. So I'm telling you, like a year and a half on this one topic in therapy every week going, okay, then he said this and I felt like, fuck you, but I didn't say it. And instead I said this, or this other time he said this, then I said that, then we teased it all apart. And she would go, that right there, that's healthy aggression. That over there, that was you acting out of punitive, fuck him. And I learned how they feel in my body because I know I know what that one interaction felt like. And I know what this other interaction felt like. So now when people come at me and they go, don't be so attacking, don't be so aggressive, I go, I have to really hold you right there because that actually was not an attack. I understand it landed like one for you. I'm being clear and direct right now. And that I understand that's triggering you. I'll show you what an attack feels like. I can fucking show you what that is.
Yeah.
Burr.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I think that's exactly what I'm talking about in terms of, the goal is essentially get beyond type. Like we get to get beyond ourselves. Like, ooh, look at that, Rachel. You just did a unsolicited attack, like I noticed that I do that. That's part of my type. And now I have enough distance from it or enough, wherewithal to Viktor Frankl it, take a little breath and choose my reaction instead of type being on autopilot, so it is, it's that, it's like the capacity to see what I do. And then given that I do that because it's my type, what's the healthy type version of that?
That's right. It's like the therapeutic language would be transcend and include.
That's your next podcast.
I'm a 7 and I include my 7-ness and as I transcend it.
Yeah. And
I don't have to not be a 7, but I can't unconsciously operate as an unconscious 7.
Right. Like what you said about, I have to repress it and I cannot do that. Right. That's just a type truth. That is a type truth. I, as an 8, cannot repress my energy. It is like my energy is my life force. 8 is a body type, right? It's like I am fully, just you can feel an 8. That's in the sort of energetic types that we get to play with by just being with a person. The 8 energy, and I had such a good experience with an 8 that I had really not dug at all at at Burning Man. I'd been in my Burning Man camp for like 7 years. And every time I saw her, I was like, oh God. And then it was never explicit, right? Like I made nice. Then she was really intense and we get, I think it was some like low level 8 shit where she would take a stand on something and, it was painful for the rest of us because of the way she dealt with it. Then one time she did something and she was really direct about it and really righteous about it. And I came back at her with the exact same energy. Like I met my 8 with that 8 energy. And it was so real. It was like, I was able to access something in her that I'd never met.
Yes.
And it was such a real communication that I noticed that she actually heard me and landed like all of a sudden, somehow she respected what I was saying because I was meeting her in her own energy. And it really changed.
That's the 8.
It changed our relationship, So it's like I unlocked her a little bit.
Yep.
I understood how to get with her.
That's Chris.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, Chris Hewart talks about this. He says you have to be willing to say, oh, really? You're coming at me like that? Pow. And then when you meet them where they are, they see themselves and they either go, oh, okay, I'm going to soften a little, or they go, thank you for acknowledging what's here, that I am the only one in the room willing to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
That's another like of the superpower of the 8 is the 8 will go, hey, everybody, do you see this fucking narcissist over here?
Yeah.
And everybody's like,
yeah.
But if one person in the room goes like, he is kind of a dick, you go, thank you for seeing the thing that's fucking clear as day that nobody will goddamn name.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for being courageous to be energized with, like 8s are not afraid of that energy. And that is, again, a superpower. And so, that's a beautiful use of the Enneagram is operating principles for working with me. Now that that I'm a 7 and you're an 8, like there are ways in which if you want to connect with me or get my attention, or if you want to help me out, you know how to
talk to me as an 8. Don't talk to me as a 3 because I'm not a 3. I'm not going to hear it.
I don't need you to think that I'm cute. As a 3, I need that very badly.
I do all the time. Yeah. Hey, I just want to interrupt.
Are you a 3?
I'm a 3. This is such a great conversation. We could just keep having it. But if we do want to go into the records, we should start soon. There, I've said my thing.
Cass, if we get super deep, you'll do your thing where you let me know.
Yeah,
that we have 10 minutes left or something.
I'll start flashing 10 minutes left at you but you never look.
Well, I will have my eyes closed.
I'll just have to say it.
As you know, so just say it.
I'll just say it until you hear it.
You just have to say it once and I'll hear you.
Well, what if you're, going? It's great.
No, you always do it and you always do it really well.
Thank you.
I'm just wanting to make sure you're going to keep doing it.
I just needed to hear you say that because I'm a 3 and I needed to be validated.
I know.
Absolutely.
I know.
I live and die by
work,
praise.
and I love you.
Yes. I love that you're a 3. It's so interesting. It's so hidden.
It was so embarrassing to realize that too. That's the thing. You're like, that's so on the fucking nose. I'm an actor and I'm a 3. Fuck you. Anyway, let's do the thing.
You're perfect.
What Ray? Yeah. What were you going to say? What's interesting to you about the fact that he's a 3?
I find 3s, there's a sheen on them that I can usually kind of feel, like that it can harder, like a slickness. And Cassidy, I find you so accessible and so real and so human. So, but it's also that 3s become a very good version of the world that they are in. And so since you've been in a very, loving, mindful, respectful, real, authentic world, I think that's what you got really good at. So how 3 shows up, but that thing that you mentioned about how people get upset, or like it's upsetting to learn your 3, it's embarrassing. You said that's such a thing that all 3s talk about. Yeah, it feels a little like.
Well, it's a gross description. If the concept of the 3 is like my identity is formed by other people's opinion of me, everything about me, I rely on praise to continue in the world. Like that is disgusting. I think it's so embarrassing. But once I get past the negative framing of it and the awareness of it, then you get to a place where you get to go, oh, I see that I am needing your praise to continue. I can either say, no, I don't need your praise, or I can say, I do, but I can acknowledge then that that's not actually a ruling fact.
Yeah.
It's the recognition, like for all of us. Yeah.
I mean, acting, showbiz, it's all very 3. The United States has a tremendous amount of 3, but it's not. It's not all gross.
Rachel Hamilton, what is your full legal name that shows up on your driver's license?
Rachel with just an E, middle name Ann with no E, Hamilton. Hamilton.
Okay. So you haven't heard this part of the podcast. So what'll happen is I'll talk us all through a short meditation, maybe 5 minutes. You can totally relax during that. You don't have to verbally respond. You can just surrender into it. And then you'll hear me say the Akashic record prayer that I use currently with your name in it. And then I'll let you know once the records are open. The teacher I had said, always do it with your eyes open so you get used to that. And I said, no. So I always do it with my eyes closed because it works better for me that way. And I can feel in my body more clearly what I'm being given for you. So please forgive in advance the weirdness of me having my eyes closed during this conversation. You can also feel free to have your eyes closed the whole time if you want. And if that helps you or not, whatever works for you. And off we go. And any questions? Do you need it? Is that clear? Does that make sense?
Oh, I guess, is there anything I need to know once we're in the eyes closed moment? Am I asking questions or am I receiving?
So when we get to, I'll say like, okay, the records are open. And sometimes what happens for me personally when the records are open is I'll get an initial healing energy or a series of words for you. They'll be like, before she says anything or asks any questions, we need to do this thing. And then we'll do that thing. But sometimes not. Sometimes they're like, cool, it's open. What does she want to know? And then I'll just say that to you. So I'll just narrate what's happening the whole time.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I am going to change to a more comfortable chair right here in front of you. Yes. See, I'm a 7. I have 3 chair possibilities. Okay.
See, I have the 7 wing. I always have 3 different beverages next to me.
I use like 9 glasses in the course of a day. Never the same one twice. Scattered all around the
100%.
The environs. Okay.
Okay. So we'll close our eyes now. And we'll just take a couple deep breaths into the low belly, feeling into that kind of pelvic floor thing, using your reverse breathing or diaphragmatic breathing that I know you know from your studies. It would drop into that low belly, connecting to the unahupili or the dantian or the self in the low pelvic floor. Great. And then we'll just feel the bottoms of our feet in contact with the earth, or imagine that they're in contact with the earth. You can feel the texture of your sock or your shoe or the ground right under your foot, whichever it is. And we're just going to visualize at the bottom center of each foot, a little foot chakra right in the center of the bottom of each foot, spinning like a little vortex, like a little tornado. And we'll see that little bottom center foot chakra on each foot spinning bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it becomes the entire surface area of the bottom of each foot is just a big open plane of energy, like an open window, like a chakra that has spun so big, it's just space now. And we're going to just acknowledge the idea that in so doing, this open window at the bottom of each foot acts as a space through which the electromagnetic field of your body can now commune easily with the electromagnetic field of the earth. Visualize now, if you would, 500 energetic roots extending from your essence down through your left foot like tree roots, and then 500 energetic roots like tree roots extending through you of your essence down through your right foot, so that 1,000 energetic roots that are extensions of your essence are extending hundreds of miles into the planet below you right now. And as they extend down, they grip into the soil and they spread left and right, forward and back, down and down, hundreds of miles into the planet below us, soaking up the nutrients of the soil and the limestone and the sheetrock or the hell's down there in the earth. And we're going to acknowledge in consciousness that we're sending these roots down to the portion of the earth that you connect with most easily and most deeply, that your soul is very intimately unified and aligned with. We don't have to know where that is. We'll just say, oh, that's happening. And we'll trust that it's happening. And let's just really see those tree roots now extending very, very deeply into the earth, even deeper than they already are. Good. And as that continues to occur, we're going to visualize from our root chakra a grounding cord extending from the root. And we're going to say it's about 1.5 feet wide, big open grounding cord that shoots instantaneously down to the center of the earth. And as it shoots down to the center of the earth, we're going to visualize that the earth, Sophia Gaia, the soul of the planet, begins to contribute a kind of abundant river of light from her essence up through your grounding cord into your root chakra, forward into each hip socket, forward into each quad, glute, hamstring, and knee, down through each shin and calf, into each ankle, and down through the roots that extend through the bottoms of your feet, back into the earth. So we're creating a kind of tripod grounding structure here. Sophia Gaia contributes a river of light up through the grounding cord, into the root, forward through each hip socket, flowing down the legs, down through the knees, down through the calves, into the feet, and back into those roots that we established moments ago. Okay. And from here, we're going to skip the second portion of the meditation. They're like, she's ready. So from here, we'll just say the records prayer, keeping the eyes closed, feeling that tripod grounding structure. And so we do acknowledge the forces of light. Asking for guidance, direction, and courage to know the truth as it is revealed. For our highest good and the highest good of everyone connected to us. Holy Spirit of the divine, protect me, please, from all forms of self-centeredness. Allah. And direct my attention to the work at hand. Help me to know Rachel Ann Hamilton in the light of the Akashic Records, to see Rachel Ann Hamilton through the eyes of the Lords of the Records, and enable me, Allah, to share the wisdom and compassion, please, that the masters, teachers, and loved ones of Rachel Ann Hamilton have for Rachel Ann Hamilton. Give me just a moment. I'll go quiet. Okay. Wow. Okay. And so we'll just briefly say here. So I'm going to say, wow. Lords, masters, teachers of the records of Rachel Ann Hamilton. We're just asking that kind of anything and everything for either of us that would stand in the way of Rachel receiving the highest and best and most useful, practical information she can receive today. We ask that you clear it now. And anything that would stand in the way for either of us, for Rachel receiving the highest and best energetics she can receive now. Just to clear those now for us. I'll just briefly say, Rachel, and then I'd love to hear any questions you have, any curiosities, any desires, yearnings, whatever. I spoke too soon when I said the thing about eyes closed, because instantly when I got into your records, it was like my eyes popped open. There was all this brightness. It was very spacious and light. And the immediate image they give me is all of the open centers of the reflector and what it feels like to be a reflector. My goodness. And there's an awareness with it of, God, how not of this world this energy is. Your essence and your soul are so bright and so spacious and so without structure that it's almost like the very fabric of who you are is at odds with the very fabric of the projections and the judgments of this reality. And so let's see, is that angels? No, your team, your guides, the Lords, masters, and teachers of your records are so proud of you. They're like this. Because of you have carved out for yourself a kind of like semblance of an ego. In other words, they're like, it's not like that you didn't have an ego, but they're like, you have a self and you're surviving and you're doing well. And sure, a bunch of it comes from programming because humans get programmed, but like you've transcended a lot of that programming and let it go and really deepened into the essence and the energetics of who you are. But B, like, fucking they're like, whatever you had to do, you fucking did it. You're here, you're doing life and you're doing well. And they're so happy. And I feel like, I never want to leave your energy field. It's so bright. Let me calm down. Oh, what a gift. And what a ride it must have been. What a ride it must have been this lifetime. And so thank you for letting me acknowledge what I perceive. Do you have any questions for your team here? Do you have anything you'd like to clear? Where's your head today?
I guess at the risk of asking the wrong kind of question, let me just say that. So you'll guide me. But I'm wondering about the lineage that is my great grandmother, Florence Bates, but Robbie, born Robbie, to my her daughter, Mimi Robbie. To my mother, Anno Oppenheimer Hamilton. I'm just wondering if I feel like I'm part of that particular, like the maternal line on my mom's side feels very, I don't know. That feels kind of like my home base for where I am in my own understanding of my place in my family. And I'm just wondering, can you see that? Can you feel that? Is that a thing?
Yeah, 100%. Well, I work with the lineage all the time. So kind of anything you want to know about the lineage, like, let's get a little more specific. Like, yes. I mean, when you say that, my being goes yes to everything you've said so far. What else would you like to know about it? Yeah.
Well, in my own inner world, I've sort of cast my great grandmother and her daughter, my grandmother, as my guides. Like that is in my, when teachers say call in your guides, I kind of scramble and I'm not sure what to do about that. And so then I call them in. And I think partly why I call them in is just because even though I never got to meet either of them, I feel this kinship with them, this way in which, when you say they're cheering for me, I think, God, I hope that's true, that my great grandmother and my grandmother are cheering for me somewhere.
Okay. So I have some info for you here. And then is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. First piece is, let me just listen for this, how they're going to say this. Okay. The guides that are clapping for you here now that I'm speaking of are a higher frequency of guide that live in a higher realm of consciousness than your grandma and great grandma can, just because of just who their souls are and where they are in their process and all that. The connection you feel is beautiful. It's real. It's here. It's great. And it's 3D and human. And they say even into 5D, it resonates all the way out to 5 dimensions, meaning you're perceiving these ladies in their 5-dimensional versions of themselves, which is quite beautiful. Now, there are higher guides you can call in, and the higher ones are the ones, well, I should say some of your higher guides are the ones I'm hearing from right now. These guides, when you call them in, all you need to do is open your heart. Imagine that there are high frequency beings of light that can pull you forward in consciousness and pull you forward on your evolutionary path quite quickly, and that they have your soul's best interest at heart, and that they are beyond the limitations of human experience. So we'll give you an example. Jesus the Christ was a human man, right? If you believe that he was a human man who lived on the planet for a minute. And then that guy who was a human man on earth died and then ascended and became what's called an ascended master. And when he became an ascended master after his death, he became a being of light that lives in a frequency beyond 5D, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, a very high vibrational being. Okay. Your grandma and great grandma, when they died, they just went to 5D. So good for them, but they're no ascended master. Okay. They're human ladies with their human lady inclinations who have human lady vision of what's possible in reality. Jesus the Christ, as an ascended master, just to pick one that people know of, not because I'm saying you should follow him, but because he's one that people know the words. You would listen to him and he would give you guidance. For example, if you could listen to that energy frequency, that's of a much higher, bigger, and more able to see broadly vision perspective. Okay. So what we're hearing from right now here is what's called the Lord's Masters and Teachers of your Akashic Records. The Akashic Records are this frequency of light. It's like a very high, bright realm of consciousness from which we can pull really high frequency bits of awareness, information, and healing. So you might ask the question, why the hell would I want high frequency information? Why not ask my grandma and my great grandma? You can totally ask your great grandma and your grandma. You're just going to get a little bit more of a limited perspective because they've only seen so far. Okay. So that's just the distinction that's here that I was wanting to name. So when people in classes or whatever say, call in your guides, these guys now are suggesting what you could try is, hey, what about calling in the Lord's Masters and Teachers of my Akashic Records? Because I've met them now, energetically at least, and then just pretend it's happening. You're an actor. You know how to do that. Open your energy field, pretend you're hearing from a super high vibrational frequency. Say, hey, Lord's Master Teacher of my records, could you be here and guide me and give me some magic woo-woo to have happen? That would create some amazing magical shit in your reality. Because your grandma and great grandma can. Yeah. You get it.
Yeah.
What else?
So I feel again, like I want to be asking the right question.
You can ask anything at all. I'll help you out.
We talked earlier about this part of me that's sitting back and trying to receive. I'm just wondering if there's any sense in there about direction. Like, where is any path I'm supposed to be checking out that I'm not? Is that too pedestrian of a question for this?
No. Any question is welcome. All questions are welcome.
I'm talking about work in the world specifically.
Okay.
Around.
Okay. Let me sit with that.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Around.
Where to point my energies, my creative energies, and how it can serve.
And how it can what?
Serve. So I have this desire to make use of my skills and my gifts to help the world be a better place. So that's what I like. What's the best? And by better place, I mean a place where we can walk each other home, just feel less alone, less scared, less sad, more connected, more joyful, more open, making our time on this earth better for all of us. That's what I mean.
Okay. Tell me, I've got some information, but before I share that, I'd like to hear, what thoughts do you have about what have been some of the ideas that have come to you about what it could be, what it could look like?
Everything from, my artistic pursuit right now is in fact my own podcast. That's something I'm working on, but the frame of it is essentially a little bit of a podcast variety show.
Okay. So let's look at others. Just tell me a bunch of them kind of slowly, but one after that one, we're going to move on.
Okay. I'm always feeling I want to write down what I know about improv. That passing on my experience there feels important.
That's big. That's a yes. Yeah. Definitely yes. Big yes. That yes. Okay, keep going.
And then I struggle with that about is that a book? Is that is it something more? Is it video? And maybe this is far too granular for the.
No. Okay. Go.
I resist writing, but I think when I can get myself to do it, it's a pretty effective channel for me. But you know what? Okay.
Hold on. I'm going to sit with this question because you're asking, is this in book form? No. Is it in video form? No. Is it a blog? No. Is it an essay or essays? No. Is it she transcribes it verbally? No. Sort of maybe. What's another idea you have for a shape that could take?
In person, boutique size retreats.
Yes, that reads. Could somebody come to the boutique size retreats and transcribe for you? And or could you go do the boutique size retreats, have a recording playing, like record yourself, and then hire someone else to transcribe that?
Is that a question or a suggestion? I could do either of those. Yes.
Yeah, that would be great. In other words, when we say a question, we're saying, would you be willing to do this? Because this would work for you quite nicely.
Yeah. Okay. I do have a question about what is the block, or how do I work through the block that has me get pretty far with these ideas and then not execute? There's some internal permission or external permission that I seem to be in need of that I'm still struggling to find, and then I look at other friends executing on things like,
yeah. Okay.
10 more minutes, so here's please. 10 more minutes.
Thank you, 10. Thank you, 10.
So here's what it is. Okay. Now this is interesting because this comes back to the first piece. Remember I said to you a minute ago, I have some information for you, but I want to hear your thing first.
Yeah.
Okay. So what that information is they're like, part of why I didn't want to share it out of the gate is that sometimes people can think because you do woo-woo stuff, Katie, you're always going to tell other people to do woo-woo stuff. But this is not the case. And if you listen back to any of our recordings, it's not the case. But in your case, what they give me is like, this is a time, Rachel, to really deepen and brighten your connection viscerally in your body so you feel it for real to your spirit and your light. It's like, they're like, you don't even know how much light you are. And that's because there are some bits of old cultural programming in particularly the brainstem back here at the back of the neck and down the spinal column about who you are or aren't, that are not correct, that need transmutation so you can understand you're like a crystalline light being, but you're not exactly living as one. You're sort of living as one in what is essence theory, in practice sort of theory. You're like, yeah, freedom and choice and everything is nothing and nothing is everything. But there's a way that in your spinal column and your brainstem, it's like crunchy and it's holding like 70s feminism, feminist, and stuck old energies from old paradigms. That you're much more than those paradigms. You are not, okay. The patterns of this earth, people, the things human beings on earth identify as are always limitations to what you can create. Mm-hmm. Did that land?
Yeah, like our story of who I think I get to be is a limit.
Correct. And including things like, I identify with this cultural group. Ugh. Limit. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You are a light being. You are light, Rachel. You more than a lot of people. If you were going to have ease with creating whatever you desire to create, they said, is you more than anyone need to get clear in your body about that truth, that you are a light being. Because, Rachel, when you feel your own light essence, when you feel, okay, if you could feel right now what I feel of who you are, you would never again have a problem doing anything. You would never block yourself because you're just light existing as something that has fun creating or doesn't, which leads to, please never create anything you don't really give a shit about creating. You already know that, but they want to validate. Don't take a millisecond to do anything you don't have the energy for and don't desire to create. So just to reiterate, what's the block? It's this old stuff in the brainstem, spinal column, back of the head. You can clear it with energetic healing work easily. It's not too much. It's not that big a deal, and it would benefit you a lot to be in some kind of regular practice of really like straight Gnostic receiving of light daily, a practice of receiving of light, not positive thinking in your mind, not meditating and relaxing, but like receiving crystalline bright light that matches the frequency of who you actually are. And if you like, I can send you, they'll guide me to send you a like a YouTube link to a energy transmission I can send you that will activate this for you if you like.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, you got it. Let me just ask quickly, is it going to be Syrian, Pleiadian, Arcturian? Is it going to be light beings? No. Is it Christ light? Oh, cool. Okay. Is it something other than Christ light? Is it, okay, we're going to make a note of that really quickly. It might actually be, that's pretty cool. Okay, don't worry. The Christ light transmission doesn't make you into a religious Christian. It makes you into a very bright light. That's all. It has nothing to do with dogma or beliefs. It has to do with just energy washing out of you, everything that isn't your actual crystalline energy. So yes to the boutique, whatever you said about boutique, small class, and then you're recording it and somebody else, you pay them to transcribe it. Don't bother with that shit. You don't like doing that shit. Don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
What else?
Well, that's a weird block for me too, which is that I have despite having the resources and the need, I tend to not get help. And I try to do the thing that I'm bad at. Figure out the tech thing that scares me because I'm trying to prove something. Yeah. And it really gets in my way. But yeah.
A little hint, and you just said it. Anytime you're trying to prove anything, it's a waste of time and energy. Part of the tech world, cool enough for the Bay Area, young enough, pretty, any of that, you're off track. You're not in your essence. Always outsource everything that you don't do well and don't want to do for you. That's not true for everybody, but for you.
Okay. I have, we were talking about Enneagram earlier, and this idea that really made me understand that I was a 7 is that 7s can be allergic to, quote, negativity. And I do have this intensity around not wanting to hear at its least mature. It is like, I just get control-y when people are like, talking about the thing that they find upsetting or getting, what I consider complaining or going down. Like when my mom wants to talk shit about our old family friend. And I have this like it's almost like I can't bear it. I don't want to put that energy into the world. And it feels sometimes alienating. Like my family thinks of me as like, you know, a bit of a goody two shoes, a Pollyanna. Like, well, Rachel's not going to like this part, but I got to say, everyone there was a fucking idiot. And I'm like, please don't say that. Please. It's like this way in which my preciousness about, I'm wondering if that has to do with this light idea. It just feels, it hurts. It hurts to feel unnecessary negativity being released into the world.
Okay. So what's the question?
Is that okay? Or should I develop a tolerance for negativity?
Okay, great question. Now, this is good. Thank you for asking that, because it's a yes, no. There are two sides to this coin. We're talking about a coin and it has two sides. So number one, yes, this has to do with being this light being. You are meant to carry a lot of light and not be bogged down in, as you said, unnecessary negativity. That is true. But your sevenness has you confused sometimes about what is unnecessary negativity and what is necessary negativity. Necessary negativity for you, in other words, you will have less of a hard time with other people's going into their quote, quote, negativity when you have faced a little more of your own, which is to say, down in your second chakra and your third chakra, low belly and the solar plexus, you've got some old stuff that is sad. It's grief that needs to be processed, that because of your inclination toward like, I'm not going to go back to that. I'm not going to live in my story. You're avoiding the actual some stuck, stagnant old energy in there. When you have been brave enough, forgive us, but to face that in yourself, second and third chakra, and a little bit of first chakra, but mostly second and third, you will have a lot more empathy for when other people are appropriately dropping into their own.
And what is the best way to clean that out? Or to like not clean that out, but what's a good grief process? Is that an energy worker or is that a therapist?
Okay, let me listen. Yeah, therapist. Well, yeah, energy work reads really well. I'm just checking like a lot of things at once here. So I'm looking at like, is it yoga? Is it Kundalini? Is it herbs? Is it psilocybin? Is it ayahuasca? Is it therapy? Is it energy work? And well, again, I feel like everything's going to sound really biased today, but I promise you, if they said something else, if is it acupuncture? No. Is it fire walking? No. It's, it's energy work because, and I think you can start with the thing I'll send you, the transmission I'll send you. Here's why it's energy work. Okay. Is because what we're talking about is transmuting that within you, Rachel, that is not light into the light that the rest of you actually organically is. What's happening here is you have a dissonance inside of yourself between who you are essentially and who your old programming and grief, has you thinking you are. You are not these old things. You are aware in your mind that you're not your old narratives, right? You know that already, inside and out. But the energy in your womb space, second chakra, third chakra, sense of self, sexuality, sensuality, emotionality, creativity. Your sense of self in there is mixed in with some old heaviness that we want to blast out with light so that those areas become light as well, like crystalline light, bright white crystalline light. Then from there, there's just nothing in the way. There's no friction between you and you. And then you just create what's fun.
Yay.
Yeah. So start with whatever I send you. They'll show me what to send you. By the way, if I have your permission, I'll open your records again to ask which thing to send you. Okay. I know it's a Christ-light thing, but I'll find one that they say yes on.
Okay.
And then start with that and see how it goes. But you're going to want to work consciously with, remember, second chakra, third chakra, brainstem, and spinal column. What does work consciously with mean? Feel into it while the light is moving through you. And you can even say like, hey, divine universe, or whatever words you like, please direct this light to those places that Katie said, or to wherever there's blocked energy in me. Anywhere that is not the crystalline light I actually am, please unlock that, clear that, etc. right now. And then just be willing to be with yourself as it goes on, as it occurs. Okay. Well, Rachel, if ever, it'd be great to do a session with you. And again, listen back. I don't say that to everybody, but it would be great to do one with you because your team here, we'd really like to just blast you up with some light and flow a lot of this out of you really quickly. Anyway, so ponder that if it reads for you. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. Okay. Is there any last words they have? No. Is there anything else? No. Okay. No. Okay. Let's go ahead and close your records. I could like keep everyone here all day long. I truly never want to leave the crystal and light you are. It's so nice to be in it. I'm like, oh, now I have to go back to reality. Okay. So, I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. Okay. Really quick. It's also like this. Some other people, they've come on and I've said things that are similar. I don't want to leave. It's so nice to be here. I want to distinguish what makes yours yours. What's unique about yours? It's fast and quick and light and bright and happy and shiny and clear and crystalline. It's not like nurturing and loving. Sometimes people have this loving thing and I want to cozy up in it like a bunny slippers and a fuzzy robe. Yours is like ping, 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 ping. And I just I'm bright and I'm alive and I'm ready to go. And it's like, it feels like I could do anything in life because I'm a little sprite. All right. Oh my God.
That was fun to receive. Thank you. Wow.
I'm so glad.
Wow.
All right. I want to thank the masters, teachers, and loved ones for their love and compassion. I want to thank the lords of the records for their point of view. And I want to thank the divine light for everything. As he return Rachel Ann Hamilton's energy completely to herself now, please return Rachel Ann Hamilton to her complete human wholeness now. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Rachel Ann Hamilton are now closed. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Rachel Ann Hamilton are now closed. The divine portal and the Akashic records for Rachel Ann Hamilton are now closed. Oh man, you can hear it in my voice, the difference between where I was as you and where I am as me. Can you hear it?
It's like a tonal shift.
Total tonal shift.
You're a little more here, a little more here. Whereas you were up here before.
Oh God, it's just, you lucky sprite, you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel, for being here with us.
What a pleasure.
And let us know when you're having that workshop because we're going to fucking be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hell
Brown,
yeah.
Ruben, and Shaw will show up in mass.
Oh, that would be so fun. And I will hire for you someone to transcribe it.
Aw. Thanks, gang.
Yeah. We love you.
I look forward to that. Thanks so much. What a beautiful way to spend a Wednesday afternoon. That's when we're taping. Yeah.
Okay. All right, friends. Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Do your work.
You asking for all of the answers? Say what? All of the answers? Yeah, all the answers.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. We'd love to hear from you. Please email us with your questions so that we have questions to answer in the Akashic Records. Our email address is allanswerspod@gmail.com. That's allanswerspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to find us on Facebook or Twitter, it's @allanswerspod, @allanswerspod. Thank you. I'm reading your lips.
Change the Zoom setting.
Okay, I will. Ping, 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 ping.
That was a Sounds Awesome production.